Wisconsin Eye is at the Waukesha Public Library. We're interviewing the 4 Republican candidates in the September 1 primary in the 99th Assembly District. We're interviewing Mr. Scott Owens. He's from Dousman. Scott, welcome to Wisconsin Eye.
Thank you.
Give us, is this your first attempt for state or local office?
First time ever, yes.
Then give us the short version of your bio.
Short version of my bio. Well,
Yeah.
I grew up in the town of Delafield. Family is originally from the town of Ottawa. Our family farm is now 166 years old.
You still live on the farm?
No,
Okay.
my uncle lives on the farm,
Okay.
but it's still family owned. Graduated from Kettle Moraine High School and then went to Carroll College, graduated from Carroll College. I've been in the insurance business most of my adult life. I've been with American Family Insurance for a little over 20 years. Grew up in a fairly political family. My grandfather, Lloyd Owens, was the county board chair for 20 years here in Waukesha County.
Yes.
And my grandmother was active in the Republican Party for over 70 years. She was actually lucky enough to serve as a national delegate to the 64 and 68 conventions.
Well, so you grew up with politics. You haven't run for anything before? No local office?
No local office.
Okay. No town, no school board, going right for the assembly? Why?
Well, it's the right time. My youngest is a junior at Carroll College. He, I believe now, is the 9th member of my family that will go to Carroll. We're very local people. Business is good. I have a great staff that handles everything for me, and the fact that Chris Kapping was elected to the state senate opened up the seat.
What do you consider your top 1, 2, or 3 issues?
Biggest issue for me is we have to increase the number of jobs in Wisconsin. I think the governor set a very high bar when he chose 250,000, and one of the things that the state government didn't do to help him was to eliminate the corporate income tax, and that would be my first priority. Let's eliminate the corporate income tax. Anybody, if you think about it, anybody with common sense realizes corporations don't pay taxes, people do. They just pass it on to their consumer as a cost of doing business. So if we eliminate the corporate income tax, it does several things. One, it makes Wisconsin a very, very attractive place for businesses looking to relocate. You know, let's look at Illinois, which is just, it's a tax hell. Would you want, if you want to own a corporation in Illinois, would you rather be there, or would you rather come to Wisconsin where there's no corporate income tax? So second thing is, for those corporations that are still here, homegrown, give them more of their money. What are they going to do with it? Some might keep it, but a lot of them are going to reinvest in their business, expand their operations, hire more people. So if you get an influx of companies moving, relocating to Wisconsin, and you have companies in the state that hire more people, we're going to produce more jobs. I think the governor would have hit that 250,000 had they done that. Third thing is, you're going to expand the tax base. You're going to get more people who are employed who are going to be paying taxes. And finally, the biggest thing to me is you're going to get people off of government assistance.
Let's talk about abolishing the corporate income tax. As you know, it brings in about $800 million a year. Well, there's a strong demand for K-12 and the UW system and corrections and healthcare. So how would you replace that $800 million now being brought in by the corporate tax? It's about that.
Well, right. It's roughly 7% of total revenue. We don't know exactly what eliminating it would do. I mean, because it's very subjective. We've never done it before. Would we make it up in personal income taxes from an increased taxpayer base? I think we would. You know, sometimes you have to change the paradigm. You know, we've done the same thing forever. If we change it, what happens? Why not take a look at that? It would be very difficult to try and figure out what the tax ramifications would be until we try it.
But you're not saying you're going to raise either the personal income tax or the sales tax to make up that $800 million?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, I think if we increase jobs by, let's say we increase jobs by just 100,000. You now have 100,000 people that are now paying taxes that weren't before. How much is that going to be? What does that translate to in total revenue? Is that 800 million? It could be. It could be more.
As you roll out one of your chief goals, abolishing the corporate income tax, is that resonating with residents of the 99th?
Oh yeah, they love it. You have to remember, the 99th is probably the most affluent district in the state. We pay the most taxes. We have a lot of business owners. I mean, a lot. Personally, I know hundreds of business owners, just from people that I know, but also in my insurance business also. They love it. They think that would be a great idea because everyone hates paying taxes. And corporations, you know, that's one of the hindrances to expanding your operation is you got to pay your share to the state.
The 99th District relies on highways to either go to Milwaukee or Madison, north, south, yet we're continuing to borrow a lot of money to pay for highways. Where are you on the idea of more permanent solutions would be raising either the gas tax or the $75 a car that you and I pay to register?
Well, I didn't like it when we raised the registration to $75. I think that was kind of ridiculous. I think there's money within the budget to be able to pay for roads. I've talked to several state legislators who have said that there is room in the budget to get the money to take care of the roads. There are other cuts that could be made.
So you wouldn't support raising either of those taxes?
No, I would not support. And the other thing is they're talking about a toll tax. I certainly would not support that either.
Okay. There's a study group in the Assembly headed by first-term Representative Terry Katzman looking at potential merger of our 16 tech colleges and 13 two-year UW colleges. Mm-hmm. Do you see some potential for savings? Is that worth pursuing?
Yes, I think that the budget for the UW system is extremely bloated. I was talking to Representative Scott Owens about this a couple weeks ago, and he said that, you know, they give so much money to the state schools, and there are 26 private universities and colleges in Wisconsin that get no funding and do just fine. So why is it that we're giving billions of dollars to the UW system and they're always crying that they don't have enough money? So
you'd like that pursued,
some
realignment of our two-year colleges and tech colleges?
Yes, any study that can show that we can save the taxpayers money, I would be for.
Okay. One bill coming up for a vote in the fall session, which starts September 15th, is AB 305, making it a felony to possess or procure fetal tissue from an induced abortion. Would you vote for that?
Yes, definitely. I think all abortions are just disgusting. And I've watched those Planned Parenthood videos as much as I could. I actually had to turn the last one off because I just couldn't stomach it. I've talked to people from the other side on that. I have one of my father's good friends is a physician who said that they do get some benefit from that tissue, but I cannot support anything that kills a child.
You would have voted then for the ban on 20 weeks?
Yes.
Okay. Another issue that's coming up in the fall session is potential abolishment of the Government Accountability Board. It was set up, created in January of 2008 out of the old elections and ethics boards. Is the GAB broken? Should it be replaced?
I think it's broken. I
Why?
definitely think it's broken.
Why?
I think it's become too political. It's supposed to be an independent body. And Kevin Kennedy and some of the people there, I believe, have just become way too political for its function. It's supposed to be independent. I'm not even going to say bipartisan, just independent, and not take a stance one way or the other. And it looks to me like that the GAB has become increasingly liberal.
What's a better, its functions are important.
Yes,
Campaign
very
finance,
function.
lobbying,
I've discovered that running.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to register with the
Correct,
GAB.
yes. And I had to go up there and go through all the hoops and everything else. It does serve a purpose, a very important purpose. But I think there's a better way to do it. So I think what the legislature has to do is investigate that and find a better solution.
Do you think going back to the old separate elections and ethics boards is a model to pursue?
It could be. That's way before my time. I would just want to see a study done to see what could be done to improve it.
Another bill coming up for a vote in the fall session would change the John Doe process. Mm-hmm. Is the John Doe process open? We've recently witnessed it with John Doe's investigating Governor Walker, his campaign supporters. Have there been abuses in the John Doe?
Yes, there have been definite abuses in the John Doe. I mean, Scott Walker, for whatever some people say, I think the guy's a Boy Scout. From everyone that I know, he is a squeaky clean guy, has never done anything wrong, and for the GAB to help coordinate that John Doe investigation was wrong. Do we need John Doe investigations? Yeah, we probably do, but I think it needs to be done on there has to be a better way to do it.
In the wake of the Citizens United ruling, there have been a series of federal and state court rulings pretty much lifting some of the limits on campaign finance. Any thoughts on whether we need new campaign finance laws, limiting the amount of someone can give or anything like that?
I think it evened the playing field. You know, you had unions that were buying their own elections, and now I think you have corporations that now the playing field is leveled, and now they can put their money behind their candidate. In the old days, the unions could finance whatever they wanted for the Democrats, and companies couldn't do much to help the Republican Party. So I support the ruling.
Whenever we debate a state budget, the Democrats say if we expanded Medicaid, which is our system of health care for the poor and the disabled, 1 in 5 Wisconsin residents get their health care through Medicaid, we would get 95% federal payment of that expansion. How do you feel about expanding Medicaid and the feds picking up 95% of it?
Well, you know, the funny thing with that is somebody's still paying that bill. You know, when the Democrats say that, well, let's have the feds pay the bill, well, we're still funding the federal government through our taxes. So let's find a way to get people off of Medicaid. Like I said, if we eliminate the corporate income tax and create more jobs, we're going to get more people off government assistance. We do need to take care of those people in our state who are less fortunate than others. Medicaid is going to be around forever. I mean, it's a government program that'll never go away, but let's find a way to get more people back to work so they can get off Medicaid.
On the issue of health care generally, Governor Walker, a presidential candidate, just offered a plan to repeal and replace Obamacare. Any feelings on changes in our health care system?
Well, I'm an insurance agent, and I can tell you...
Do you sell health insurance?
We used to.
Okay.
We don't anymore, but I have friends of mine that sell group health insurance. I shouldn't say, I do sell some group health insurance. I don't sell individual insurance anymore.
Okay.
I have one group plan that just went through the Obamacare change last year. Their premium went up 50%, and the coverages went down. Now, the reason is there are so many taxes and regulations in Obamacare, and people don't realize this. It's going to hit your group plan. Your group plan, your cost to belong to your employer's plan is going to continue to rise, because what they're doing is they're taking the money, those taxes and regulations and fees, to support the individual payer system.
Therefore, we should get rid of Obamacare.
Yes, there's a better way to do it. One of the things that always troubled me was the portability. You could live in Wisconsin and move to Illinois and you couldn't keep your insurance because the Illinois Insurance Commissioner's office was more stringent than Wisconsin, or it couldn't port. So we need to find a way to do that. The individual health insurance market, where in the previously if you had pre-existing conditions, that was a problem. The society has kind of signed on to we need to provide coverage for those people. In the old days, if you had a pre-existing condition, say that you'd had diabetes, we were going to give you coverage for everything but diabetes. I think you have to include everything now. But there's a better way to do it, and the best way to do it is let the marketplace do it, not government.
The Democrats say that your recent example of this company that faces a 50% increase is an example for a textbook lesson and why we need single payer. Your response?
Well, single payer doesn't work. You can talk to Canada or you can talk to the UK. In Canada, I know this for a fact, 50% of all of the patients at the Mayo Clinic are Canadian, because you get on a waiting list. You need surgery for something in Canada and they put you on a waiting list for 6 to 9 months, you might not survive it. In the UK now they're talking about rationing services. So if you're an older person, you're a senior, let's say you're 70, 75 years old and you have something that is life-threatening, they might just say, you know what, you're going to have to go die. We're going to give you medication to ease your pain and suffering, but we're not going to spend $1 million to save your life. That's wrong.
New subject. One of the most contentious issues in the last few weeks has been the Milwaukee Bucks arena. $500 million arena, half of which paid for by public aid. Would you have voted for that package?
I would have voted for it, and I was very surprised that Chris Kappinga did not. I thought there was an economic impact, positive impact for the state of Wisconsin. I think that in the long run, we will make far more in the tax revenue than we pay out. This is going to be a job creator. Estimates that I've heard anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 jobs to build that complex. It's going to be enormous. going to have a lot of restaurants, hotels, shops down there that's going to create an economic benefit for the city of Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin.
Finally, do you want to highlight any differences between you and your 3 opponents on September 1, sir?
I would say that I have a lot more successful business experience than my opponents. You know, I've been in the insurance business for 25 years. I've run a successful insurance agency. I talk to people daily. Unlike my opponents, I mean, my job every day is to talk to people from all walks of life. So I kind of know how the economy's going, how joblessness is going. I mean, I've had people that have been out of work for 7 years, you know, trying to make ends meet. And I would say I'm probably the most conservative in the race. I am not a tax and spender. We have one candidate who put up a huge town hall in the town of Delafield and raised taxes there 16%, and I think that's just wrong. Why spend $4 million when you can spend $2 million?
Very good. Scott Owens of Dousman is one of 4 Republican candidates in the September 1 primary in the 99th Assembly District. Scott, thanks for talking to Wisconsin Eye.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.